season finale of Bad Movie Beatdown. I always like to save the worst for last, which is why today's movie is Reckoning Day. Reckoning Day is a film directed by British director Julian Gilby in 2002 that was shot across a period of 3 years with his friends. It was shot on an extremely low budget, and being shot across such a long period of time, there were lots of logistical problems. A few years after, and Gilby became quite successful on the British film scene, making films such as Rolling with the Nines, Rise of the Foot Soldier, and A Lonely Place to Die, which I recently gave a fairly positive review on Sister Show Projector. And that's where Reckoning Day comes in. Because Gilby was now successful, he could finally release his debut movie on the straight-to-video market, deceptively made to look like a new film. Yes, the cover is the slickest thing about this whole endeavour. Wow, a 5-star rating from TalkSport magazine? I always trust their opinions on movies. I didn't even know they had a magazine. On the back cover, which you'll notice has an incredibly generic stock picture and no actual photos of the movie, they have the brass balls to claim this is an eagerly awaited release. Yeah, in the Gilby family maybe. The IMDb synopsis, which I'm almost certain was written by Gilby himself, goes one further by comparing it to El Mariachi, Bad Taste, and Evil Dead. Ha ha! You wish. There does appear to be some bad blood around the production though, because I did find on one of the trailers on YouTube a comment left by the lead actor in the film complaining that Gilby hadn't paid him yet. I do feel bad about reviewing this because it is technically a student film. On the other hand, this does have a recommended retail price of $12.99, so I'd imagine I'd be a bit furious if I paid full price for it. So let's review Reckoning Day. The film opens with a black and white prologue with red text on top, which makes it virtually unreadable. It's not a good start when your opening crawl is illegible without the aid of a pause button. The text tells us about British assassin Charles Toll, who went to America and is close to being captured by the US government. He and his gang are trying to get through the Rocky Mountains into Canada, but not if special forces stop them first. It says a lot more than that, but really that is the gist of it. And if you think that was tacked on to explain what the bloody hell was going on, you're probably right. Not that it helps matters, because you are literally thrown right into the action without a clue what is going on, whether or not you read the crawl or not. So basically what you're seeing is a load of people in white balaclavas getting shot by what appears to be a fat Elvis in a cowboy hat. It's a minute in and already I'm confused as to what the hell is going on. This is a running trend throughout the film. The white balaclavas are meant to be American and Canadian special forces who are the good guys. Also, there is Ed, the film's hero.
You're here out of courtesy. Stay put. Stay fucked.
Ah, it's so wonderfully macho. And the acting, well...
Give me a fucking medic over here. God, it hurts.
Medic! My bad acting is making me bleed to death. Medic! That said, for an obviously low-budget film, the carnage is quite impressive, particularly the headshot effect. After seeing the same technique used over a dozen times throughout the rest of the film, it does begin to lose effect. Especially when you don't have a clue who the hell is meant to be who. Who exactly is Charles Toll in this scene? I'm kind of lost in the midst of the gunfire.
Hi, Charles Toll, pleased to meet you.
Hi, Film Brain. Very glad to meet you. I'm a little confused right now, but thanks for answering that. He shoots Charles, grazing his head, and fights his henchman Stuart, the guy with glasses who barely showed up in the previous gunfight. This fight on the cliff obviously owes a debt to the brutal fight scene in Cliffhanger. Let's just say it's obvious that these people grew up with 90s action films. After the best opening credits early computer editing software could provide, we move into the main body of the story 17 months later in England. Stuart visits an arms dealer named George, who is the least convincing arms dealer you'll ever see. Stuart also has an apprentice called Ross, played by Julian Gilby's brother Will.
I'd like to thank you for your efficiency when dealing with Charles and I. However, Charles wants everything back.
Too slow, Stuart. First thing you should have taught that kid of yours is you never fucking get back on a deal.
And the first thing that you should have learned was to actually turn around when you know there are two men in the house trying to kill you. They beat George to death, and there's more torture and killing right up next. Oh, and Fat Elvis is back. This is quite impressive considering he was shot repeatedly in the opening scene. I guess the tin plates in his vest made it bulletproof.
Personally, I don't have a preference. They're both pretty good guns. Beretta was a little more suited to you. It holds 15 in the magazine, 1 round in the pipe, And it's a touch heavier than the Colt, so you can hold it steadier.
Blimey, the amount of info about those guns was scarily detailed. It borders on the fetishistic.
Yeah, so give me the Beretta.
You can have the Colt when you reach puberty.
Yeah, that's a laugh considering half the cast seems to still have acne. So they execute this guy and we don't know who this guy is either. I would have loved to have seen Gilby trying to sell this role to his friend. Okay, we're gonna have you shirtless, gagged and chained and we're gonna shoot you repeatedly. What do you think? Meanwhile, Brian of British Special Forces gets a report they may have found Charles Toll.
Why wasn't there a positive ID immediately?
This man had scruffy blonde hair. A further sighting showed this was just a cheap wig. We saw through this lame disguise and he was tailed back to the Bray Hotel.
I love how the wig is so lame that even the film has to draw attention to it. And why would an assassin wanted across the world use a cheap wig? Not a very good assassin if he can't blend in. The movie then moves into flashbacks showing Charles and his girlfriend escaping, killing 37 officers in the process. Then we see Ross doing a reenactment of Grand Theft Auto and swapping hats apparently counts as a disguise. He drives furiously or the cameraman is having a seizure. I don't know whether my stomach hurts because I'm laughing so hard or because I'm about to throw up. Ross swaps the car with Stuart, who is too late to pick up Charles before he is hit by a clumsy motorist zoom function. Stuart kills her because the movie apparently feels the need to kill everyone. He collects Charles and injects him with something.
It defies belief that you're this careless and you fled the scene of the crime with enough evidence to put us both away for 475 million years each. Well done, Charles.
I do love the horrendous dialogue that sounds like an idiot trying to be a British Tarantino. Meanwhile, in LA, or as I like to call it, the film studies classroom, Ed is being contacted by the British.
We have some information which may be of some interest to you, Echo Delta.
Regarding what?
Charles Toll.
What the hell was that? That just looks...
While searching the crime scene, I uncovered something. It's a drug, like nothing we've ever seen before. And we now know that this drug has been filtered from a plant believed to be extinct called Feroxinvidia, which loosely translates to unseen force.
Really? Unseen Force? That's what you're gonna call the drug? Apparently Gilby liked this name so much that he used it for the production company name on the film. And if it was that much more effective than cocaine, I think it would kill people instantly. The drug makes users 300% stronger by cutting off the brain's sense of pain, which means that headshots are the only effective way of stopping users. Because it's not like there haven't been enough of those so far in the film. There's a massive info dump here about the plot so far, because it's been frankly incomprehensible up until this point, unless you've been watching it with my narration. Ed is forced to work with James, the commander he didn't like very much in the Rockies, although they'll be working separately. Ed says goodbyes to his wife, who doesn't even say a word in this movie. She must be a really bad actress, judging by the standards of the rest of the cast if they don't allow her to speak. Ed flies into England and is assigned his car.
Your car? What is that? Calm down, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. This car has been cleverly designed to look like a heap of shit.
As opposed to an actual heap of shit that you've had to explain because Daddy bought the car for you. We cut back to Stuart and Ross, who apparently killed another man we don't know. As for why he's nude, I don't know, nor do I really want to. Thanks for the shot of the clip falling on his floppy buttocks, much appreciated. Just be glad I censored his hairy crack. Ross informs him that their last target is having a house party which ruins their plans. Stuart calls Charles, who is shot really close to hide his obviously different appearance, who tells them to hire mercenaries. It's at this point we get another info dump from Brian as Ed learns the men being killed are Charles's former associates, who are now actually given the good grace of names. The next target is Richard, played by none other than Julian Gilby himself. James goes undercover at Richard's house party but gets swiftly captured, but Stuart and his men are there too.
Ross, what are you wearing?
I don't want to get blood on my good clothes. That's why I'm wearing this shit.
Translation, Will Gilby obviously forgot to bring his costume on the day. James is shot in the leg by Richard, who thinks he's after him. Richard is shot in the hand by Ed. Richard punches Ed. A table is covered in blood for no reason. Brian gets kneecapped for no reason. Beginning to see a pattern here. There's no plot. It's just a nonsensical collection of random violence, and it gets old very, very fast. Actually, that's a lie, because Charles's mercenary starts storming Richard's house, and then it becomes a really nonsensical collection of gory violence and shootings that gets repetitive really bloody fast. It's just an endless collection of people getting shot, and it keeps focusing on characters we've never met, but the film acts like they're important until they die. There's so much shooting and fighting going on at the same time, with lots and lots of cross-cutting, that you get no sense of spatial awareness of what's going on and where it's going on, and it basically looks like a frenzied, gibbering mess. There's enough blood in this sequence that it might as well be sponsored by the Red Cross. I've seen less blood in Japanese horror movies. My favourite part of this is the pool, which is rife for editing errors. James fights a guy in the pool, and then that stops for about 2 minutes before they cut back, and they're still fighting. Not to be outdone, Ed jumps in the same pool at the same time, apparently unaffected by two men fighting in it, grabs a gun from underwater, and pulls some John Woo shit after spending 2 minutes underwater. Somehow, I doubt those guns will be able to fire after being underwater that long. There's so much random amateur carnage that it starts to look like a scene out of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. I'm sorry if there aren't many jokes here, but there's only so much I can do when it's basically 7 minutes and counting of people blowing the holy fuck out of each other like all of John Woo's firefights combined. Ross grabs a case of unseen force whilst Charles kills Richard. After 10 minutes of senseless, unnecessary violence, seeing Julian Gilby get his throat slit is quite satisfying. Unfortunately for him, Ross runs right into the business end of James's gun.
Jesus, I just shot a fucking kid.
Jesus, I murdered that line just as brutally as I did that teenager.
Oh no. Not Ross, please.
Oh my god, this is like the Bad Acting Olympics! They steal the case of unseen force and try to make it back to their car through the forest. This action sequence still isn't over as Ed runs to get the car so he can pick up Brian and James and add more to this film's ludicrous body count. What are we up to, 60, 70? Ed rescues Brian and James and gets away. At a disused farm, Charles and Stuart try to work out how to get their case back.
He got away.
Don't rub it in!
I'll take care of it personally. I'll be 500 yards away with an SVD. One shot.
Taking a secret with him, which is where's that case of unseen force. I have a contingency plan.
Do you think he doesn't?
Do you want to shut up?
Do you want to fuck off?
Yeah, you might have noticed that the actors' lips only match their dialogue about half the time. They're all ventriloquists. They stop in the middle of the forest to rest their car.
You were gonna leave him behind.
Tactical necessity.
What'd you say?
Tactical.
Say that word again, I'll fuck you up.
Come on, you gutless shit!
Oh good, another gunfight. Whoop-de fucking do. I swear the script for this was scribbled on a bit of toilet paper. James is shot at some point we don't see, and Ed rescues Brian so they can ride off again. Unfortunately, they're confronted by a shooting gallery and end up crashing their car.
Get down!
We have enough firepower to take out a small nation. Get out of the car now.
Generally, the threat of firing your weapons tends to work before shooting up the car and trying to kill everything inside. There's so much fake blood spewing you'd think they'd be mortally wounded, but they're not. It's just sloppy and excessive. And I hope you like the red stuff, because Ed blows Brian's brains out at his request. This mixed berry drink is delicious! Oh, and it turns out that James is actually a traitor, which reminds me of plot twists I used to invent as a 9-year-old playing with Action Man figures. The film apparently wants us to forget that he was fighting bad guys 10 minutes ago. He even shot Ross, for crying out loud. It makes no sense for him to be a bad guy.
You tie me to this chair, then you bring Ed in here. Then you just tell him that you'll torture me unless...
Why do I have a feeling the bad guys will double-cross him and torture him for real? Oh, that's right, because the violence never stops.
James, get something else. Did you hear anything of what I just said? Get something else.
And if I don't?
Again with that? It's a good thing the security camera changed angle to see that. I thought I was seeing things.
I'm sorry about him. He was touched by a priest.
Movie, stop trying to be funny, it's just weird.
Your escape was most impressive, Ed.
Hey, Charles, what do you say we cut the shit?
You're not a brother. You're not a friend. But we're not exactly strangers either.
What is with the changing locations and styles in this scene? Is he having the conversation in his mind? It makes no sense except in the director's head.
You know, my grandfather fucked up
This is
his
gonna
life.
take a long time.
Is Ed a haemophiliac or something? I mean, the guy's lost so much blood, I'm surprised he's able to stand.
Legally, one cannot go back on a deal, which is why I do business illegally.
This sounds so rehearsed, Charlie.
Well, it certainly doesn't sound any more stilted than the rest of the dialogue. Ah! Stay back, demon! Stay back! They take him in to see James, who is now tied up to a chair just like he planned to be. However, Ed sees right through the ruse and knows that James shot Brian during the skirmish earlier. And you know what that means?
We said this was a fucking joke, right?
No, you did.
Please, Ed, just tell him.
Fuck you.
You see, I'm so desensitized to it. I could just watch this while I'm eating my lunch. Oh, sorry. Sound went down the wrong way. Although I've got to say, this scene is quite disturbing, and perhaps not in a way the filmmakers intended. I mean, the level of brutality is so unnecessary and repulsive that it casts a dark shadow over the rest of the film. It's not entertaining, it's just a bloody precursor to torture porn. Charles and Stuart make tracks to Cornwall, which is where Charles's European courier is sending the boxes of Unseen Force to. Ah yes, Cornwall, the home of crime, and Cornish pasties. Sal, the courier, tries to ask Ed the location of the missing Unseen Force and threatens his wife if he doesn't tell them. I love how Ed's shirt has re-whitened itself quite a bit. This is why you don't cover the lead actor's shirt in blood without a costume change after. It's a pain in the arse to keep continuity on. Ugh, when I said take him to the dry cleaners, I didn't mean take him to the dry cleaners. Then Charles's girlfriend Elle tries to seduce Ed, and the actress has been chosen primarily for her ability to wear tight tops over her enormous breasts.
Please tell me where it is. I'd be lost without her.
So would I.
Final answer?
What?
With all this excess blood in this system, no wonder he never goes down. So the following day, we reach the titular Reckoning Day. Sal wakes up Ed ready to execute him.
Okay, yeah, this is it. Let's do it, motherfucker.
Let's get ready to rumble, motherfucker.
Sal takes Ed out to the forest where James's dismembered corpse is because the scene wasn't disgusting enough already.
I'm gonna rip his fucking head off. I swear to God. Come on, this son of a bitch is gonna fucking fuck on this for seconds.
Ah! This must be what it's like being in Charles Xavier's head. And now we get another montage of brutal violence as he shoots Sal.
Relax. He's dead. Better make sure.
Yeah! I think he's dead now! And you didn't need to waste those bullets anyway because people don't generally come back from being shot in the mouth. Ed then shoots Fat Elvis and his useless blonde friend, but runs out of bullets for the torturer. What do you think about that? I think it's freaking awesome! That's right, we're having a battle involving garden and power tools like drills and garden shears. And I should be appalled because this is basically an excuse for more grisly violence, but after the endless gunfights, this is a breath of demented fresh air. I mean, how many movies have you seen where people fight with chainsaws like swords? They even start whacking each other with the motors. That's how hardcore this gets. I swear they need to put this in the next Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie right the fuck now. Ed defeats him by kneecapping him so he lodges the saw in his head. And yep, all that carnage bloodied Ed's shirt up even worse than before. Now Ed has to fight Elle, who is on Unseen Force for some reason. He stabs her with about a dozen syringes of the stuff, causing her to OD and start hemorrhaging, whilst he watches lighting a cigarette and then pouring petrol everywhere so he can burn the place down. That's why this violence seems so callous, because he's so nonchalant about it. I mean, he's so cynical he doesn't even give a shit. That's really quite disturbing and sociopathic, and the filmmakers confuse that with cool. That's the scary part. Ed makes his way to Cornwall so he can meet up at the pub being used as the rendezvous point. And he doesn't even change his shirt, which has dried off again, it seems. Dude, you're walking around Cornwall in a shirt drenched with blood. I think someone might notice. He goes inside and confronts the two villains who stab him with Unseen Force and spike his beer with LSD.
This is how we're going to play the game. I dose you, you come after me. Sort of hide and seek for grown-ups.
Why? Just shoot him! Shoot him in the head and use one! Don't give him the drug that gives him super strength. Even Dr. Evil thinks this plan is stupidly protracted. Charles shoots Ed in the gut fatally, but Unseen Force, God, I feel stupid saying that, will keep him alive for a further hour. Although he's been punched so many times over the last few days, I'm pretty sure he's already superhuman. Drugged up and hallucinating, and is acting even worse, he continues to go after the bad guys uninhibited. In fact, he tracks them down to this cliff where he beats up this dude in a Quicksilver t-shirt. Wait, who the hell is this guy? The credits list him as the Apache. That guy's an Apache? I don't think so. I think someone's had too much of the peace pipe. He defeats the Apache before swapping guns what feels like at least several times. Dude, just pick one! It turns out the unseen force is making him go on a natural born killer style rampage as he starts killing the henchmen and their girlfriends who have been brought along. That's right, he's slaughtering completely innocent women. A hero, everyone! Charles drugs up Stuart, who faces off against Ed in one final slobber knocker.
Well, that's it, that view must be great, Ed.
Wowee! The acting just keeps getting worse and worse. Ed grabs Stuart's gun and shoots him repeatedly, beats him up, throws him off the cliff, and continues to shoot him as he falls to his death. Jesus! Overkill much?
Overkill is underrated, my friend.
On the beach, Ed looks for Charles, but he gets shot in the chest, then the shoulder, and then the leg. Not that that seems to impede him in any way, and I'm having a hard time believing the drug covers all those injuries. He shoots Charles in the head before collapsing to the ground, dying of his wounds, whilst having visions of his wife. You know, the one who only appeared in one scene without dialogue. Oh yeah, she was a very memorable character, and this ending is so sad. Ed dies and the movie comes to an end. Oh, and we see Stuart's stunt double at the end of the credits. So that was Reckoning Day. Man, that was exhausting. The script is stunningly poor and juvenile, serving only to tie staggeringly violent set pieces together. It's like what the kids in Son of Rambo would make if they grew up worryingly obsessed with violence and guns. It's the violence that really makes this a slog. It's so vicious and unrelenting it leaves a bad taste in the mouth. And at 105 minutes, it's certainly an extreme test of patience. However, you can clearly tell there is some talent behind the camera, and it's clear Gilby has moved on from this effort, and I do wish him the best of luck. Well, that's it for another season of Bad Movie Beatdown. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Until next year, I'm Matthew Buck, beating down bad movies everywhere. So you're going off to uni soon, aren't you?
Yeah, very soon.
Yeah, I've got my dissertation to write.
Oh, wow. Well, best of luck with that, yeah.
Thank you.
It's a bit like a parting of the ways, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit. Well, good luck with uni, buddy.
Yeah, you too.
Hope to see you soon, man. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera.